The immortal John Hancock here, and I thought I'd have a discussion talking about the retro gaming market. I've had a lot of people approach me. Where do you think it's going? Do you think it's crashing? And I had got a discussion with a couple friends, and with recent announcement of GameStop losing a bunch of money, I want to address this. I want to talk about it. The retro gaming market is not crashing; it's just changing. And I think that it's important to note that there's a difference between gaming and collecting. And this is kind of addressing both things. And so there's a lot of people out there that are gamers and they don't care about the market crashing. And, I'm in a weird category too because, for me, it doesn't really matter. It's not going to change what I'm going to be doing. And so I just want to address this because I've been collecting a long time. I've been collecting nearly 30 years, I'd say about 25 years. And I've seen a lot of trends come and go. I've seen a lot of people doom and gloom. Oh, it's sky's falling. And it's not. Okay, it's not. It is changing though. And it is changing. And every so often I see that. And I definitely see it changing. And it's constantly changing. But, every now and then you see a shift in the market. I definitely see that in the market right now. And so brick and mortar is going to continue to be on the decline. And that's just retail in general. We've seen it with major retailers, not game related. We've seen, companies slash locations of stores. We saw it, we really saw it with other businesses too. The fall Blockbuster. We've seen major companies. Sears comes to mind. Macy's, you see major retailers, Toys R Us, and you see these companies just for various reasons. It's just more and more people are now shopping online, and the reason why I bring it up is so people see the decline in brick and mortar stores and think that that's directly connected to the retro gaming market. Now there is a secondhand. There's secondhand shops that are going to be affected by this, and so, but for every secondhand shop that you find in a local store, there's, tens, hundreds, thousands of people online selling retro games and gaming products. And it's easier than ever to get retro gaming products. I was talking to a collector, and a good friend of mine, and, he was able to acquire a complete Sega Saturn collection in less than a year. And it was all because he was able to score things locally, but also, using the internet, able to connect with other collectors. And it's easier than ever to go online and to get retro gaming products. And so when people say connect brick and mortar to retro game, I disagree. I think that it's just easier than ever to get it online. And that because you're able to easily shop online, that's why brick and mortar is going away. It has nothing to do with the demand of retro gaming products on the decline. It's just a different way. And that brings me to my other thing. So the major shift what I see in the market right now is that 10, 15 years ago it was the pursuit of like original hardware and original games, and the games have gotten really expensive. They've gotten really expensive. Hardware is, depending on what you collect, it fails, it has issues. There's always going to be a market for that. I love original hardware and games, okay? Because that's what I grew up with. And I think, pursuing especially this stuff, is a niche market. There's not as many people going after old Atari stuff or box Atari stuff or Game & Watch or all that original hardware. It's for the average Joe. That doesn't matter. They want to play something. They want to play something on a new TV, and honestly, if they can go into Walmart and buy it, they're going to do that. And that's exactly why these larger companies are looking at the retro gaming market and creating products and offering them new, because they know the market's there. There's people that are old enough to remember video games, and if they saw it at a store or saw it online, at a brand with a brand and stuff, they're gonna purchase it. It's crazy to think that I can go in any Walmart and get, you know, a PlayStation Classic and a Nintendo Classic, you know, Sega Genesis, you know, something to play Sega Genesis carts, and, you know, just a crazy amount of things, an Atari Flashback. And, you know, they're not the best. Some of them aren't the best products. You know, I've reviewed several of them on my channel. We'll laugh there. And I think that is going to appeal and appease to most people, where you can just, I can play a couple of my favorite retro games. I don't need anything else. And that is really important, that I think that there's enough people that are happy with just playing the games on an easy, convenient way on their TV, where it doesn't matter about original hardware games as much. I think space is an issue too. I think that, you know, this convenience factor is playing in part to a lot of people running out of space or downsizing. You know, for newer generations, having a lot of physical items is less of an issue, is less of a need. All right. Let's talk about the other issue too. Is I think the rise of Twitch and streaming is appealing to a lot of people. You know, people watching other people play games. It's been going around for a while, but, you know, Twitch is just skyrocketing in popularity. I've thought about doing it. I don't know. I just, for me, it's more about showcasing the physical media. And so, but for a lot of people, you know, not even owning a game or playing a game, they're happy with just watching someone else play a classic game. And I have talked to more and more people of like, oh yeah, you know, I grew up with this such and such game and I just watched someone else play it. And it's like, for me, that's weird, but like, there's for not a lot of people, they love that. They love that, and it's really popular. So, you know, that's kind of cool. And if that's what you get your entertainment out of, you know, great. That's cool. So, going back to the convenience factor, you know, access to games, multi-carts, and SD cards. You know, 10, 15 years ago, there was a market there where people wanted this, you know, easy way of playing, games on original hardware with multi-carts. And now there's a multi-cart for almost any system. And the common ones, Nintendo, Sega, Super Nintendo, you know, you can get those any given Sunday you go online and you can find those conveniently. And, you know, that's really changed the market too, where, you know, the convenience factor of having, you know, being restricted to just a few games if you can only find them on card. Now you can just play anything all the time, you know. I think of like the C64 Mini as a good example. So that's a you know, product in which you can play essentially nearly any Commodore 64 game, you know, and it's hackable right out of the get-go. And so you can add ROMs to it. And so, you know, for most people, that's awesome. That's convenient. That's the way to go. For other people, emulation, but, you know, that's been around a long time, but it's just even more accessible now, all the games, all the time. And so I think that is affecting the market, and I think that the companies are figuring it out. You know, is the mini craze going to continue, you know, with the PlayStation Classic? I don't know, you know, until something else comes out. You know, the next step would be, you know, something that can play everything. And you know, that's why the Raspberry Pi is popular. You know, Raspberry Pi can do quite a bit of retro gaming, and it's pretty cheap. And it takes a little bit to set up, but, you know, a lot of people stand by that. That's like their go-to thing. And it's just getting better and better and better. And as time goes on, that technology is going to evolve, and it's just going to be able to play even more games. And so that is affecting, I think, what people are playing on. And so I find myself more and more that my love for original hardware will never cease. You know, my only limitations are space. And, you know, for me, I'm at a point now where, you know, I'm seriously moving forward with hopefully plans on having a museum. And so, you know, this stuff takes up a lot of space. And for a lot of people, especially younger people, space is an issue, you know. Rent costs more, space is a factor, and this stuff takes up space. So, you know, playing with multi-carts, playing, you know, on a Pi that doesn't take up a lot of space, that matters. And so that it goes back to that convenience factor. I think it's also important to note that retro gaming is constantly changing, and that the rise of disc media collecting, Xbox, PlayStation 1, 2, and 3, GameCube, and the Wii are just great examples. I think that disc media will continue to be on an increase. I see more and more people that have grown up with PlayStation. I think PS2 is kind of the happy medium where it's retro enough. It's going on 18 years old, and so more and more people that grew up with PlayStation are going to be collecting PlayStation and having that nostalgic factor over card-based systems because they're old. And for me, for someone such as myself, I always grew up with Atari, Nintendo, Sega, but for younger generations, PlayStation is where it was at, and there's a lot of great games. There's thousands of games for PlayStation consoles, and there's some great game play offerings, and I think it's just going to continue to be on the increase. And so that to me means that retro gaming is not going anywhere, it's just changing. And so it all depends on like what you consider retro gaming. For me, it's any game that's 10 years or older is my loose definition of retro gaming. So yeah, that's debatable too, but that's my opinion and that's my definition. So yeah, I think also too, if someone has asked me, I've been asked this too. If I was to start somewhere, where would I start? And I would tell most people, honestly, at this point, I'd either get some type of like flashback console, or some like an HD console that plays old games that you can hook up to modern TV and then get a multi-cart and call it good. Or good example, the recent with the Sega Genesis collection, for most people that's good enough. If you want to experience Sega and you don't have an old console, that would be the way to go. And like, I know that some people will disagree with that, but gosh, it's a great compilation, and it has a lot of Sega classics all in one disc or a card if you got the Switch version, which I don't have yet. And I think that's the way to go. And so I don't know, that's my thoughts on it. What do you think? What do you think about the retro gaming market? Do you see a crash, or do you see it changing like I do into something else? Comment below. I love having this debate. You don't have to agree with me. It's okay. And I liked having this conversation, and I'm happy to respond to comments below. Thank you so much for people continuing to tune in to my humble channel as I march towards 80,000 subs. That's right. I'm making progress. If you like what you see, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to make sure you get reminders. Thank you so much. This is the Immortal John Hancock. You take care.